Okay, let's go with a little behind the curtain action here, behind the paywall. We'll go PFF. And I had this thought to myself the other day. I thought to myself, did the Lions just have the best free agency in the NFL this offseason, or at least in the first week of free agency period? And my answer was yes. And by saying yes, I mean, I think they had a top 3 class, and I think they did the best with what they had available to them. So I started looking because everybody's giving out grades, but not all these grades are quantifiable. And what I like about PFF, like them, love them, be somewhere in between, what at least they do is they try and take an attempt and measure out the data. At least they're going to measure out the data and tell you, yep, this is why it's good. This is why it's bad, based on player ratings, based on wins above replacement, based on score, and all that kind of stuff. But they're going to give you a lot of good things. So let's just see what they had to say about the Lions. And if they matched up with what I am thinking, which is that they just quietly had the best offseason in NFL free agency. And I think you're going to be happy with it. So it's also nice to see everything in one place like this. And what I can also do is I can get this just a little bit bigger for all of you guys, so you can see it even better. So the Detroit Lions, their additions, as we know, were Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Moseley, and David Montgomery. We re-signed Buggs, Reynolds, Anzalone, Kaminsky. One thing I will say, all 4 of those re-signings have in common that the numbers don't factor in. Those are leader guys. Those are hardworking, love football guys. And then, as we know, so far, our key loss is Jamal Williams. That's almost crossed out / improved with David Montgomery coming in. That remains to be seen. But let's get into some of the numbers, and let's first look at Cam Sutton. And here's what PFF has to say about him. Sutton quietly continued to excel in a Pittsburgh coverage unit that was otherwise very exploitable. Pause. Thank you so much. Oh, they came from Pittsburgh, so it's a system corner. It's always been a good defense. No, the Pittsburgh coverage unit was otherwise very exploitable. In other words, he was the best player in a bad secondary. And what we're hoping is that he can be the best player in our secondary too. All right, 2022 was just his second season as a full-time starter on the outside, but Sutton earned a 71 coverage grade, and he allowed, wait for it, just 411 receiving yards. I love this. The 9th best mark, a top 10 mark among cornerbacks with at least 400 coverage snaps on the season, and he had many more than that. The Lions need to find an outside corner in free agency this offseason, and Sutton provides exactly that. This was great. You didn't want to pay 15 to 20 million a year for Dean, Ramsey, even 20 million a year for Ramsey, and have to give up compensation. I understand a lot of people wanted Ramsey. I get it. I think this is a really smart signing that doesn't break the bank. Pittsburgh played man coverage at about the same rate as Detroit did in 2022. And so the schematic fit makes sense. Thank you so much. Understanding scheme. Now, what about Moseley? 1 year, $6 million, if I'm remembering the contract right. By the way, Sutton was 3 years, $33 million. This is a smart buy low decision for the Detroit Lions on a player who started off 2022 strong, earning a career high 73.5 coverage grade through week 5 before what Brad Holmes loves, players with torn ACLs. So it doesn't say that. It doesn't say what Brad Holmes loves, players with torn ACLs. That's a little addition for you. All right, that injury is far removed from week 1 of 2023, so it's not as if Moseley recently got hurt and is beginning rehab. Detroit has now added Cam Sutton and Moseley with Okudah and Jacobs in the fold, which could dramatically improve their cornerback unit, which was in desperate need of reinforcement. We go from saying Jeff Okudah, Jerry Jacobs. Ooh, I don't know if I want to start those guys too. Are they good enough as backups? Yeah. Does Jeff Okudah move to safety? Different video. Let's talk about it. All right. The interesting to monitor will be if Sutton kicks inside in the slot in the nickel packages with his flexibility is a nice component of value. I think if he's the best outside corner, he plays there. Let's see what they have to say about Montgomery. They have to say a lot. The experienced running back stays in the North after playing his rookie contract out with the Bears and is primed to face his old team twice a year as part of a committee with Swift. The former third round pick, has hauled in at least 25 catches every season of his career and regularly avoids negative plays by routinely shaking off tacklers in the backfield. He fills the void behind Williams, but here's what I like. He occasionally lines up in the slot and is a wide receiver and is a plus pass protector at the position with his 71.7 pass blocking grade since 2019, a top 10 mark at the position. Thank you so much for showing us the pass protection. This is what I love. I know everybody's like, "Ooh, pass protection. Who cares?" It matters. The Lions utilize pass protection so much. Play action pass, in the shotgun, whatever it is. Our running backs are asked to block a lot. He's as tough as they come, and this is what I want you to pay attention to. Has legitimate 3-down potential if Swift were to miss any time. Jamal Williams has been more of an early down only type of player. Thank you. Versatility. He is more versatile. This isn't a Montgomery versus Williams thing, but that's another video that you'll see. Anzalone was solid with an 58.5 PFF run defense grade and a 58.9 coverage grade, both ranking in top 60 among linebackers. It's just a bit of an overpay on a day when we saw the division rival Bears sign TJ Edwards for a pretty similar deal. So we gain PFF war gain, PFF free agency grade A-. One other team got a higher grade. One. Okay. And that is the Miami Dolphins. So only one other team received a higher grade than us. And I want to show you what they did in order to get that. Because I want to say, like, I still make the argument that we did a lot with what we had. And that is the Miami Dolphins. They added Jalen Ramsey. I believe they gave up a 3rd-round pick for him. They added a solid, well, maybe solid backup quarterback. That's the one thing we're missing. And I bet we get an A if we had signed a solid backup quarterback. They got a linebacker and a tight end in Long and Saubert. And so they re-signed their running back committee. So they're actually still kind of weak in the running back department, and they lost a couple of tight ends. So that's what you can see there. So here's kind of what I want to talk about. We did good. And it's not just me that thinks that. It's other sites are grading us high across the board. And I think that's because we saw a glaring need at corner. We fixed it. The whole other places where we were already okay or somewhat solid, we re-signed our own players. And now we are creating depth, and it makes us more multiple going into the draft. But also it's a realization that we save money. I think even little things like bringing in David Montgomery and letting Jamal Williams walk for similar money was a good move. As much as we all love Jamal Williams, if he was in the game, you knew it was a really good chance we were going to run. And even if we were going to pass, he wasn't a big threat. I think he only had 12 catches last year. So just things to think about. And this is why the Lions quietly had the best free agency in the NFL, because they were all not under the radar, but middle to under the radar signings that I think will make a big difference for this team. No splashy moves. You could argue Cam Sutton's splashy, but just solid. And I love it. Hey, hit that subscribe button below. And don't forget, we have memberships now available on the channel. So feel free. It's a great way to support the channel. All right. We'll see you on the next.